Hello, everyone. We are just going to give it just another moment or two just for some more people to show up, who signed up for today's webinar. Uh, it is currently 4:31. I'll give it another 2 minutes or so. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. Alrighty, the time I have is 4:32 Central, so we'll go ahead and get started. For those of us who aren't here at the beginning of the webinar, no worries, there will still be a recording sent out that you're viewing on demand. But welcome everybody to today's webinar. Thank you again for joining. I am John Moraes. I will be leading today's webinar. We are going to be looking at all of us who are returning coaches. Thanks again for coming back for another great year here at HSEL. So today we're going to be covering the updates for the fall season, as well as a little bit of information with the overall 2024-2025 year. As I mentioned, all of us should be mostly returning coaches. So I might be covering over just information that are only updates. We did have a webinar earlier in this week for new coaches, but I will still be able to answer any questions for anybody who is a new coach that may come up. I do have the chat and everything QA open on another screen, so feel free to go ahead and use that QA as we are going along in today's session. So today, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be kind of meeting us here at HSEL in case we haven't had a conversation with any of us here. We're going to be going over some of those new updates to the league and just some other essential information, share over some resources for you all to check out, and how to connect with other educators in the field of esports. As I mentioned, QA is open as well as the chat, so feel free throw any messages as we're going along. We will have a Q&A reserved at the end where I'll allow everybody to come off of mute, or if you want to go ahead and continue to use the chat, feel free, but don't feel like you have to hold off those questions. So going along, let's go ahead and meet some of us. So first is going to be David Stone. Some of you might know him. He is a former platform success agent, which is what our field here at Generation Esports used to be called. I'm what used to be a platform success agent as well. But David has been moved up because he had so many great tournament ideas. He's also a former TO with Rocket League and Kansas City Esports. He was actually a director of esports there. We actually said, you know what, how would you like to be the commissioner of HSCL? So he is the end all be all when it comes to all rules, regulations, when it comes to HSCL, as well as our MSCL for middle school counterparts. Prior to, of course, being here and everything, he was a Bachelor of Music composition from Western Michigan University grad. As I mentioned, he was former director assistant to Kansas City Esports and Rocket League for Rocket League TO, and his favorite games obviously are going to be Rocket League and Baldur's Gate. I actually am a bad person and I don't really play Baldur's Gate, but Rocket League, that's also going to be my favorite game, and this is me. In case you all are not from the Northeast region, I used to formerly do the South. I have to update this. That's unfortunate. So I used to handle the South. I now handle the Northeast. So all of you up in the northern part of the states, you probably have met me. I have been here since 2021, where I did handle the South for a while. So if you're any of our southern states, you might have met me. I've been here since, as it says there, since May of 2021. Prior to being here, I did work for Microsoft for better part of 10 years, let's call it. And I did grow up in Texas, where I went to college at Sam Houston State University, where I have a double major in criminal justice and history. So a lot of things super esports related, right? But my big claim to fame here is the fact that I love games. I've got over 5,000 hours in both Rocket League and Rainbow Six Siege. So if you are in my region, or maybe even not, but you have questions about Rainbow Six Siege, I'm the person for Rainbow Six Siege at this company. So I'm always happy to answer any questions on that or really any other games. Now, enough about us. Let's talk about HSEL, some of the info and overall structures. So just like last year, we have 3 overall tiers of competition. Our fall major, which is where the majority of all of our teams and coaches end up registering, because it's a nice mixed bag of those casual players as well as those really competitive teams that are trying to get up to that next level to maybe go off into nationals per chance. But we also have our intramural, which is going to be for those casual players, maybe students who are just developing in these games. They've got not too many hours, minutes logged, whatever the case may be, but they are just getting started. There is no playoffs. There's also no pricing. So there's no real reason to just be like a really good person going into there, because there's no advancements after intramural. Then we have our premier, which is for the highest level of competition. It's the highest competitive teams. It will be the most direct path into HSCL Nationals, but there's more information to come with Premier later on. Now, let's go ahead and cover the major tier, because as I mentioned, that is probably where the majority of all of our teams are registered. So our overall season has not begun yet. We do have our preseason, which is going to be starting on the 16th of September. It's a 2-week optional preseason, same as always. Your wins, losses do not carry over into the regular season, which is going to be starting on the 30th of September. Overall, 6 weeks, 1 game a week in those respective games that the students are registered for. If you have to play a minimum of, I think it's 5 games, so you have to have a percentage of participation, 75% or more, in order to be eligible to go into your playoffs, then, going off into your championships for your various games for the fall season. Now, at the end of that 6-week season, there is a final week of makeups, just like last year, where students are able to queue multiple times in order to make up matches. Now, these queue times are still going to be same way as it is during the regular season, where queue times are only available on the same day of which. So if, let's say I'm looking at my schedule down below, I'm looking at Monday, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. If I'm needing to use the makeup queues, those will still be happening on Mondays for my solo Super Smash Bros. So I still will be able to just queue multiple times only for the makeup week. Now, another image having all of our games. So as you can see, we have a label of, Super Smash Bros. Being on Monday, Counter-Strike Monday, so on and so forth. There are a bunch of different queue times available for these students, or for the students to use on all of our games. Now, same as always, you'll be able to see a full list of all of these queues, those times available in the link that is in the PowerPoint presentation, which will be sent out tomorrow morning along with the recording of this webinar, in case you all joined in a little bit late or unable to join today. So you'll see in some of these games, they do also have a free to compete banner. We do always have a revolving selection of games in that free option. So I just wanted to highlight that real quick. So I will be Fortnite Box Fight, Rocket League 3v3, as well as Apex Legends. So those games will still be free, or well, Fortnite's a brand new one. So those games will be free to compete. There are no passes or access required for those titles. Now, we did change up our divisions a little bit. If some of us competed in the fall of last year, I want to say it was, we had the South Division. We do not have the South Division, kind of keeping it more along to all of our various games time zones that these schools are in. So we have a little breakdown here of what the regions now are. So East will be mostly for just and only just the Eastern time zone schools. Central will be the Central time zone. West will cover Mountain, Pacific, Alaska, as well as Hawaii. Now, this is going to be for the preseason as well as regular season. When it goes into playoffs, This does change for Mario Kart as well as Splatoon. Those ones will be divided in those regions because those games normally, because we still have national competitions for some of our select games. On that overview document that was linked on the previous slide, it will also indicate which games are national, as well as on each game's specific registration page will also indicate if it's going to be national, if it's going to be region, and of course, in your registration flow, you'll select if you are in a specific region, and that's going to also show that you are going to be in the competitive division Eastern or whatever the case may be. So after the regular season, there goes into the playoffs. And this is something that we've had discussions about many times over the past years, explaining how the overall multi-tier playoff system works, because we do want to always offer the most playoff experiences available for the most amount of students that we always can. So in most of our games, we will have different brackets, if you will, for our playoffs. So the championship bracket in the games that have these brackets will be the bracket that does advance, or is the bracket that's most available for pricing most of the case. And then we have our breakdowns of, maybe the gold bracket, silver bracket. As you can see in our graphic here, we have our first few players who are all eligible. They competed in all the games that they needed to. They have the most winningest record, except for the person in the 8th position who is ineligible. Maybe they didn't play the appropriate amount of games, so they have to be skipped, for lack of a better word. So then the ninth spot person would be moving up into the championship bracket because the 8th person was ineligible. And as we can see, this then trickles down into the following brackets, because then it doesn't cut off at 16 for gold, it goes to 17, so on and so forth. So when it comes to the multi-tiered brackets, always keeping in mind that not only the win-loss record is important, but also making sure that you've overall played enough games. So if you ever have questions, how's my record looking? You can always look at your dashboard at the very bottom in your match history, or you can also reach out to your account manager, such as myself, or maybe you have one of my colleagues, Jared, if you're maybe in the West region or so on and so forth. If you don't know who your person is, you can always feel free to stick around at the Q&A and ask me, and I'll be able to find that out for you. Now, moving along into the intramural, as I mentioned, there's no playoffs, there is no prizing, it's just kind of an open, where students are able to queue up as multiple times as they want, which is going to be a little different than in the majors, where they can only queue one time a week in their respective games. Intramural students are able to queue up multiple times in any one of their games that they are registered for by you all. Now, I know this is a question that always does come up. If I have a student who is not like a super high ranked person in, let's say, Rocket League, can they also compete in the intramural to get extra practice? There is no rule against that, I will say, but all of the matches do still happen at the same queue times. So they would be technically having both their intramural and their major match at the same time. So logistically, it's a little hard to do, but I know that's always a question that does come up. So moving along to now our premier tier, which, as I mentioned, is the highest upper echelon of our HSEL competition. This is going to be a new update. So our premier tier will be returning in the spring. So it will not be going on all year long. So Premier, how are you able to join the Premier tier? You're able to join by either invitation based off of your performance in the fall, which I'll be covering more information on that here in a little bit, or you're able to play in the open qualifier, which happens during February, which would be what is the major preseason for the spring season. Teams who don't qualify well enough in the open qualifiers during February will automatically be moved into the major season. Now, this part that says differences from the major is technically the same as it was last year, whereas in the premier tiers ran a little bit differently than the major, where students do not use the queue system, where they have multiple times in order to elect to play as a team or as a solo person, depending on the game. The matches are pre-scheduled. You know who your opponent is coming up in the future. Very similar to how traditional football is. There is double eliminations when it comes to playoffs, as you can see here, all into the slides. We do have some more information about Premier in our rules, as well as our overview pages on the HSEL help site, which, as I mentioned, all will be linked in the PowerPoint that will be sent out to you all. But I'll also drop a couple different links into our chat here just while we're there, just so in case anybody is needing some of these links. I have the Q walkthrough linked, registration guide in case some of us are brand new, our esports educator Discord, and some other links that I'll be covering here just in a moment. I just wanted to take a pause and go ahead and share off those links. Now, as I mentioned, Premiere is going to be happening just in the springtime, but I have a little graphic kind of explaining how this is overall going to shake out. So we are obviously coming up to the Fall Major 2024. The top 8 teams from the Fall Major Championship playoffs get an automatic bid into the Premier season in spring of 2025. Now, something I also want to mention, this is only just for the Premier title games. So this is going to be for your Rocket League, Valorant, as well as Super Smash Bros. So all other titles, this is not relevant for those. So I wanted to say that before I go too far into this. So as I mentioned, this is just for those Premier title games. Now, top 8 teams from fall get an automatic bid. Then there will be to be determined yet X factor amount of other teams from the open qualifiers who will also get a bid into the into the Premier season. Now, there is also a wild card that happens at the very end from even more teams to possibly get their shot into our nationals for our Premier titles. There will also be other champions from partner state-based competitions. So the Michigan State Esports League, they also are going to have their champions come into our national competition as well. There's a lot more information on that on our blog post, which I'll also be more than happy to share at the end of our webinar. Now, there are some more competitions available for your students if they are looking for some more. I know myself, I'm a Rocket League 2v2 player, so this is something that I would be very interested in. We have another free tournament offering available for the students that we've always had called the Youth Winner Circle. Now, this is going to be not just teams from schools. This is also teams of just people who are student aged. So they are 13 to 18, so they're not technically all people from the same school. They are just in that age bracket. It follows the same schedule as the Fall Major. It is 100% free, and there are games like Overwatch 2, League of Legends, and like I mentioned, Rocket League 2v2. A little bit different rules and regulations when it comes to Youth Winner Circle, so we also have the rules page that will be linked, sent out to you all. Now, as I mentioned, this is mostly for returning coaches, but in case some of us are brand new, I'm going to go ahead and play this video about how to register. It is also linked into our chat that I posted just a little bit ago.
Hi, this is Alex Acosta from Generation Esports. Today I'll walk you through step-by-step how to fully register for a tournament. Let's start with returning competitors before diving into the tutorial for new users. For new users, we recommend skipping ahead for a more curated guide. Now then, if you've competed with us before or have a team and a roster that is ready, registering for a tournament is easier than ever. First, you'll go over to the left-hand navigation and click on Tournaments. Next, you'll find yourself on the Discovery page for new tournaments. There are a few different ways to sort for the tournament you're looking for. You can either sort by joined communities, which will sort by the communities you've already joined, or you can sort by community-free tournaments. These are relevant for tournaments like Youth Winner Circle. For this video, I'm going to sort by joined communities to search for the HSEL Spring Major Rocket League Tournament. Next, we'll click here because registration will happen on this page. You'll now see registration in the top left of your screen. Here, you can click for the first step, which is to select your team. Now, you should see your team highlighted in yellow. This means your team is eligible. Select your team of choice, and from there, you'll see all your created rosters. For example, next, I'll select Rocket League Team Black.
For some tournaments, including HSEL Rocket League, you will be prompted to select a division.
Select your division and hit continue. Registration is now complete. Easy enough, huh? Finally, you'll go to the left-hand side of the screen and go to Dashboard. To compete, look under today's playtimes on your game day and enter the queue. Best of luck from there. For users new to our platform, you're in luck. The new registration flow makes it easier than ever to get started. First, head to the left-hand tab and select Tournaments. Here, you'll see all the tournaments Generation Esports has to offer. To search a specific tournament like HSEL, search for HSEL, and a list of tournaments with the criteria will populate. Select the tournament of your choice. The entire registration process takes place from this tournament page. Next, the top left of your screen will indicate how to begin registration. For this tournament, I don't have a team or a registered roster. Here's how we can change this from the screen. Select Create Your Team. Now, you'll see your newly created team. Select your roster in yellow.
For some tournaments, including HSEL Rocket League, you will be prompted to select a division.
After selecting a division, if applicable, please select Continue, and you'll be informed that your registration is now pending because you need to meet certain requirements. Fortunately, tracking what steps you need to do next are simple, and they're even sent to your email.
And are tracked on the dashboard, which is what we'll look at next. To find any pending registrations, go to the dashboard, and under Today's Playtimes, you'll see pending registrations. To see more details, click the down arrow. These next steps are crucial to complete. The yellow bar at the top shows how long until registration is closed. As you can see, I'm not part of HSEL. To become part of HSEL, click the Communities tab on the left side. You'll see HSEL. Click Learn More, and then click on Join. From here, you can fill out an application to join HSEL. Once finished, that box will be checked off.
For more information on managing your team and building your roster, please view our registration guide for your appropriate community.
Alrighty. So, as I mentioned earlier, I shared a link into our chat about our esports educator community in case some of us haven't seen this before. This is a community that we own and manage that is strictly for educators. Great place for you all to meet up with other people in maybe your area. You can kind of form up a rivalry, ask questions. Hey, how did you start up the program at your school? But it's also a great place to go ahead and jump in there and ask us over also some questions. A lot of us are in that chat, but you can always feel free to email us because that's where we typically work within. Like I said, drop the link in the chat on how to join that. Now, some of us who haven't been in any of our webinars before may not know that we also do have curriculum that is available for students to check out, which I will go ahead and let this video play, and I'll go on mute.
Discover a world of possibilities with Gaming Concepts, the dynamic curriculum that's more than just gaming. Whether you're passionate about creating digital media, exploring the world of esports, or mastering essential computer applications, Gaming Concepts is a course your students will love. Unleash your creativity in interactive media, where you'll learn to design graphics, animate characters, produce videos, and build websites. Dive into the world of esports with Gaming Concepts Fundamentals, where you'll explore the history of competitive gaming, learn about different game genres, and discover strategies for maintaining a healthy gamer lifestyle. Become the voice of esports with shoutcasting, where you'll master the art of commentary, interviewing, and broadcasting. Build a community of followers with Gaming Concepts Streaming, where you'll learn to create engaging live content and interact with viewers. Prepare for the future with computer applications, where you'll gain essential skills in word processing, spreadsheets, databases, and presentations, all while exploring the business and marketing aspects of the gaming industry. Develop as an individual with digital life skills, where you'll learn about mental health, digital citizenship, and other important topics. Visit our website to explore our courses and find the perfect fit for you.
All right. So, like it was just speaking about, Gaming Concepts is the name of the curriculum that we also have that is hosted on our LMS that we created called Blueprint. So it is a learning management system, obviously, that houses the curriculum. It's got integrated lessons. It's got a whole bunch of activities. You can see all about it in all the links that will be coming out. There's a lot of different interactive scheduling that's available. So it's a really, really, really fun system. It's hard to really explain it all into words how great it is that we built that as well. Now, as I mentioned, we will be sending out the recording of this slide the recording of this webinar as well as all of these slides out to you all. If you do have questions about the curriculum, maybe you're currently using it and you are needing to be onboarded onto Blueprint by one of your account managers, or maybe you are, oh, I've actually heard a little bit about gaming concepts and I want to find out a lot more about this because I know I joined a competition webinar. One of the contact curriculum info links I put into the chat here, so you can book a call with your Scholastic esports consultant. I also linked another one of our contact us to speak to one of my team members. So one of us account managers, maybe it's competition, maybe it's onboarding onto Blueprint, or maybe you just have any kind of question underneath the esports sun. It's a great place to go to book an actual call with us. And also the overall help site for all of our rules, tournament updates, and everything will also be linked in this presentation sent out. Now, I want to go ahead and open it up to questions. So I'll go ahead and let everybody have the ability to come off of mute if you would like to ask your question. You also are more than welcome to type your question if you do not want to come off of mute. And yeah, and you don't have to like raise your hand. You just feel free to come off mute in case you have a question. And if you don't have any questions, it is all good if you wanted to leave today's session, because this was actually the end of everything we actually had to cover today. So I want to, again, in case some of us are typing our questions or forming them, I want to thank everybody again for joining today's session. And also thank you again for coming back for another exciting year at HSEL. I do recognize some of our names. Tim Fields, I see you. It's always great to see you. And I'm happy all of you were able to join today's webinar. No, hey, we love that. We love that, Tim Fields. But yeah, I know you're out in the West, so you're probably more familiar with Jared more so than me. But yeah, I handle, as I said, the opposite side of the coast. But yeah, I'll go ahead and stop the recording here just for those of us who are watching this on demand later on. Thanks again for stopping by.